Every morning you wake up, something is happening inside your body that your doctor has probably never talked to you about. Right now, at this very moment, your body is either feeding cancer cells or starving them. And the difference between those two outcomes is not a drug. It is not a surgery. It is not a treatment you need a prescription for. It is something sitting in your kitchen, something you walk past every single day without knowing what it is actually capable of doing inside your cells. I am going to show you 7 foods that research links to fighting cancer cell growth at the molecular level. I will tell you exactly what each one does, why it works specifically for people over 60, and most importantly, how to eat it every single morning so your body gets the full benefit. But before we get to the list, I have to tell you something that changes how you will hear everything that follows. Here's the truth that most people over 60 are never told clearly. Cancer is not something that arrives suddenly from the outside, like a virus or a bacterium. It starts from inside your own cells. Right now, your body produces abnormal cells every single day. Every single one of us does. That is normal. That is biology. The reason most people do not develop cancer is because their immune system finds those abnormal cells and destroys them before they can grow. The medical term for this is immunosurveillance. Your immune system is your internal security patrol, constantly scanning your body for cells that have gone wrong. Now here is what changes after 60. As you age, that immune patrol becomes less efficient. The body's ability to detect and destroy early abnormal cells begins to slow down. At the same time, decades of low-level inflammation begin to accumulate inside your tissues. Chronic inflammation is the single most powerful environment for cancer cells to grow and multiply. Researchers at the American Institute for Cancer Research estimate that 30 to 40% of all cancers can be prevented by lifestyle and dietary changes alone. That is not a small number. That is nearly half of all cancer cases, preventable. Not by expensive treatments, but by the choices we make before a single abnormal cell ever gets a chance to multiply. And here is what the research has discovered in the past decade that is genuinely remarkable. Certain foods do not just feed you, they communicate directly with your cells. They activate genes that tell abnormal cells to stop growing. They switch on your body's natural detoxification pathways. They reduce the inflammation that gives cancer the environment it needs to survive. They literally cut off the blood supply tumors need to grow, a process scientists call inhibiting angiogenesis. The foods I am about to show you are not supplements. They are not trends. They are not miracle cures. They are foods backed by peer-reviewed science, studied at institutions like Johns Hopkins University, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and published in leading oncology journals. I am Dr. Daniel Hayes, and today I am going to walk you through all 7 of them, one at a time, in clear and plain language. I am going to tell you exactly what the research shows, exactly how each food works inside your body, and exactly how to use it every morning so you never waste another day leaving this protection on the table. Stay with me to the end, because number 1 on this list, the food most people already have in their kitchen and never think about, turns out to be one of the most powerful anti-cancer discoveries in modern nutritional science. And before we begin, drop a comment below with just one word. Either ready if you are watching this because you want to protect yourself, or fighting if you or someone you love is already dealing with a cancer diagnosis. I want to know who is in this community so I can keep making content that serves exactly where you are. Let us begin. Let's start with number 7, and I want to start here because this is a food that almost everyone over 60 can eat. It is gentle on the digestive system, and it is available year-round in frozen form without losing any of its protective compounds. Blueberries. You have probably heard they are good for you, but what you have likely never been told is the specific mechanism by which they interfere with cancer cell growth. Blueberries are exceptionally dense in a class of compounds called anthocyanins. These are the natural pigments that give blueberries their deep blue-purple color. In laboratory studies, anthocyanins have been shown to inhibit angiogenesis, which is the process by which tumors grow new blood vessels to feed themselves. Think of it this way. A tumor cannot grow beyond the size of a pinhead unless it finds a way to build its own blood supply. It essentially hijacks your body's blood vessel growth system to feed itself. Anthocyanins interfere with that hijacking. They disrupt the chemical signals tumors send out to recruit new blood vessels. There is more. Blueberries also contain a compound called ellagic acid, which has been studied for its ability to slow the growth of cancer cells by triggering a natural cell death process called apoptosis. Apoptosis is your body's built-in instruction for damaged or abnormal cells to self-destruct. When that instruction is working properly, abnormal cells die before they can multiply. Ellagic acid helps make sure that instruction gets sent. Research highlighted by the American Institute for Cancer Research also shows that the polyphenols in blueberries reduce oxidative stress, the cellular damage caused by unstable molecules called free radicals, which is one of the key early drivers of cancer development. For people over 60, there is an additional and particularly important benefit. The inflammation that accumulates in aging tissues responds directly to the anti-inflammatory compounds in blueberries. When that background inflammation decreases, the cellular environment becomes less hospitable for abnormal cell growth. How to use this every morning. 1 cup of blueberries, fresh or frozen. If frozen, allow them to thaw in a bowl overnight. The thawing process actually breaks down the cell walls slightly, which makes the anthocyanins more bioavailable, easier for your body to absorb. Add them to oatmeal, plain yogurt, or eat them on their own. Consistency is what creates the protective effect. 1 cup every morning, not just on the days you remember. Number 6 on this list has been used medicinally for over 5,000 years, and modern science has now confirmed what ancient healers apparently already understood. Garlic. The protective compound in garlic is called allicin, and it is formed the moment you crush or chop a raw garlic clove. The act of cutting or crushing garlic triggers an enzymatic reaction that produces allicin. This compound has been studied extensively for its ability to slow the growth of cancer cells and reduce the risk of several specific cancers. A large body of population research, studies that track what thousands of people eat over years and decades, has found that people who regularly eat garlic and other allium vegetables like onions, leeks, and scallions have a significantly lower risk of stomach cancer and colorectal cancer. One study found up to a 50% reduction in risk for colorectal cancer in people with the highest regular garlic consumption. At the cellular level, allicin and its related sulfur compounds, including diallyl disulfide and S-allylcysteine, work through multiple pathways to interfere with cancer growth. They inhibit the activation of carcinogens, cancer-causing chemicals, inside cells. They boost the activity of immune cells that seek out and destroy abnormal cells. And like blueberries, they can trigger the apoptosis process in cancer cells, essentially instructing them to die. For people over 60, garlic also provides a secondary benefit that matters. It reduces platelet aggregation, the clumping together of blood cells, and supports cardiovascular health. The link between cardiovascular health and cancer risk is real. Poor circulation and chronic cardiovascular inflammation create conditions that make the body more vulnerable to cancer cell survival. There is one important detail that most people get wrong about garlic, and it completely changes how effective it is. After you crush or chop a garlic clove, you need to let it rest for 10 minutes before cooking or eating it. That 10-minute rest period is when allicin forms and stabilizes. If you throw garlic straight into a hot pan from the chopping board, the heat destroys the enzyme reaction before allicin can fully form, and you lose a significant portion of its protective benefit. Crush it, wait 10 minutes, then cook it gently, or add it raw to a morning preparation like a vegetable scramble, a savory breakfast bowl, or a morning broth. 1 to 2 cloves per morning is enough to deliver a meaningful therapeutic dose based on the research. At number 5, we come to what is arguably the most extensively studied anti-cancer vegetable in modern nutritional science: broccoli. The reason broccoli stands apart from every other vegetable on this list, and from most foods in general, is a compound called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is not found readily in any other food. It forms specifically in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, when a compound called glucoraphanin is broken down by an enzyme called myrosinase during chewing. The research on sulforaphane is remarkable. Pioneering work at Johns Hopkins University by Dr. Paul Talalay showed that sulforaphane is one of the most potent activators of the body's natural phase 2 detoxification enzymes, specialized proteins that identify and neutralize cancer-causing compounds before they can damage your DNA. Think of sulforaphane as activating your body's own internal cancer-fighting machinery. It does not just fight cancer cells directly, it turns on the genes responsible for producing the enzymes that your cells use to protect themselves. Studies have linked regular cruciferous vegetable consumption to a lower risk of prostate cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, and oral cancer. A case control study found that women with the highest intake of cruciferous vegetables had only 50% of the breast cancer risk of women with the lowest intake. For people over 60, sulforaphane carries an additional specific benefit. It helps counter epigenetic changes, meaning changes in how your genes are expressed, that accumulate over decades of aging and environmental exposure. Sulforaphane has been shown in research to help reverse some of these harmful gene expression changes, essentially helping your cells behave more like they did when you were younger. There is a preparation method that dramatically increases sulforaphane content. Lightly steaming broccoli for 3 to 4 minutes, not boiling it, preserves the myrosinase enzyme that converts glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. Boiling for longer than 5 minutes destroys that enzyme and significantly reduces the protective benefit. Raw broccoli contains the highest sulforaphane potential of all, but for people with digestive sensitivity, light steaming is the best balance. Add half a cup of lightly steamed or raw broccoli to your morning meal. A breakfast vegetable scramble with eggs, or a morning bowl with a poached egg and steamed vegetables, is a simple and highly effective way to get this into your daily routine. Number 4 has been studied in cancer research for over 2 decades, and the science behind it is consistently impressive. Green tea. The protective compound in green tea is a polyphenol called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate. It is the most abundant and most bioactive catechin in green tea, and it is one of the most extensively researched natural anti-cancer compounds in existence. EGCG works through multiple mechanisms simultaneously. It has been shown to inhibit enzymes that cancer cells use to invade surrounding tissue. It suppresses the signals that tell cancer cells to multiply. It blocks angiogenesis. Once again, that critical process by which tumors build their own blood supply. And like several other foods on this list, it induces apoptosis in abnormal cells, triggering the self-destruction process in cells that have begun to grow uncontrollably. Population studies conducted across Japan and China, where green tea consumption is daily and lifelong, consistently show lower rates of certain cancers, particularly stomach, esophageal, and colorectal cancers, in populations with the highest green tea intake. From an epigenetic standpoint, and this is where the research becomes particularly exciting for people over 60, EGCG has been shown to influence DNA methylation patterns. DNA methylation is one of the key ways cancer genes get switched on or off. EGCG helps maintain the silencing of cancer-promoting genes. In plain terms, it helps keep the genetic switches that promote cancer in the off position. For seniors specifically, green tea also supports the immune system's T-cell function, the specific immune cells responsible for identifying and destroying cancer cells, which tends to become less efficient after age 60. How to use this every morning. 1 to 2 cups of freshly brewed green tea. Brew at a water temperature of approximately 80 degrees Celsius, just below boiling. Water that is too hot degrades the EGCG. Steep for 2 to 3 minutes. Adding a small squeeze of lemon increases the bioavailability of EGCG by making it more stable in the digestive tract. Drink it within the first hour of your morning. Do not add milk to green tea. Milk proteins bind to the catechins and significantly reduce their absorption. At number 3, we have a food that is remarkably common, remarkably affordable, and remarkably underestimated. Tomatoes. The protective compound here is lycopene, a carotenoid pigment that gives tomatoes their red color. Lycopene is one of the most powerful antioxidants found in food, and its relationship with prostate cancer specifically has been studied in some of the most compelling nutritional cancer research ever conducted. A landmark study from Harvard University found that men who ate cooked tomato products, tomato sauce, tomato paste, tomato-based soups, more than twice a week had a significantly lower risk of prostate cancer compared to men who rarely ate tomatoes. The effect was particularly strong for advanced prostate cancer. For men over 60, this is directly relevant. But the protection lycopene offers is not limited to prostate cancer. Studies have linked lycopene consumption to a reduced risk of lung cancer, stomach cancer, and breast cancer. The mechanism is antioxidant-based. Lycopene neutralizes free radicals, unstable oxygen molecules that damage the DNA inside cells and create the kind of cellular errors that eventually lead to cancer. Here is a critical point that changes everything about how you should prepare tomatoes. Lycopene is fat-soluble. This means your body cannot absorb it properly without the presence of dietary fat. And crucially, cooked tomatoes release more lycopene than raw tomatoes. The heat breaks down the cell walls, releasing lycopene in a more bioavailable form. Cooking tomatoes in a small amount of olive oil is one of the most bioavailability optimized ways to consume lycopene. A 2009 study in the Journal of Clinical Oncology noted that a combination of lycopene and selenium was shown to dramatically inhibit prostate cancer cell development. For a morning application, a small pan of cherry tomatoes gently sautéed in 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, seasoned lightly, takes 4 minutes to prepare and delivers a highly bioavailable lycopene dose. Alternatively, a tablespoon of tomato paste stirred into a morning broth or a savory egg dish delivers a concentrated lycopene hit in the smallest possible volume. Number 2 is the food that research has described as interfering with more cancer-related molecular pathways than almost any other natural compound studied: turmeric, and specifically its active compound, curcumin. Curcumin is the golden-orange pigment that gives turmeric its color. It has been studied in over 3,000 published scientific papers related to cancer. Pioneering work by Dr. Bharat Agarwal at MD Anderson Cancer Center showed that curcumin interferes with multiple molecular targets that are essential for tumor development, growth, and spread. To understand why curcumin is so significant, you need to understand something called NF-kappa B. NF-kappa B is a protein complex inside your cells that functions like an on switch for inflammation and cancer cell survival. When NF-kappa B is chronically activated, as it tends to be in aging bodies, it creates a cellular environment where cancer cells survive, resist treatment, and spread more easily. Curcumin is one of the few natural compounds that has been shown to directly block NF-kappa B activation. It also blocks specific enzymes called COX2 and LOX that produce inflammatory chemicals inside tumor tissue. It interferes with cell cycle regulation, preventing cancer cells from successfully completing cell division. It induces apoptosis. It reduces angiogenesis. It modulates immune function to improve cancer cell surveillance. The breadth of curcumin's mechanisms is genuinely extraordinary in nutritional science. For people over 60, there is a specific additional relevance. The chronic low-grade inflammation that accumulates with aging, sometimes called inflammaging by researchers, is directly addressed by curcumin's anti-inflammatory mechanism. Reducing that background inflammation is one of the most important steps you can take to make your body an inhospitable environment for cancer cell growth. However, there is a critical limitation to curcumin that most people do not know about. Curcumin on its own is very poorly absorbed by the body. It passes through the digestive system largely intact without entering the bloodstream in meaningful amounts. There are two ways to solve this problem. First, always combine turmeric with black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine that increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Second, combine turmeric with a fat source. Curcumin is fat-soluble, and eating it alongside olive oil, avocado, or a cooked egg dramatically improves its absorption. A morning preparation. 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder added to warm water with a small pinch of black pepper and a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, commonly called a golden tonic, takes 90 seconds to prepare. It can also be added to morning oatmeal, stirred into scrambled eggs, or blended into a smoothie with a fat source. Do not heat turmeric in high-temperature frying. Gentle heat preserves curcumin's structure. The golden tonic method, using warm but not boiling water, is the most effective daily delivery method for people over 60. And now we come to number 1. This is the food most people already have in their house, often in a bag pushed to the back of a kitchen cabinet, rarely given a second thought. What the research has discovered about this food in the context of cancer, especially for people over 60, is genuinely one of the more compelling stories in nutritional oncology. Flax seeds. The reason flax seeds earn the top position on this list is not because of a single mechanism, but because of 3 separate and distinct anti-cancer mechanisms that operate simultaneously. No other food on this list acts through as many independent pathways at once. Mechanism 1. Lignans. Flax seeds are the richest source of plant lignans in the natural food supply, containing up to 800 times more lignans than any other plant food. Lignans are phytoestrogens, which means they interact with estrogen receptors in the body. For people over 60, this matters enormously. Many hormone-sensitive cancers, breast cancer, prostate cancer, uterine cancer, are driven or fueled by estrogen. Lignans from flax seeds compete with estrogen at receptor sites, reducing the estrogen stimulation that feeds these cancers. A landmark study by Dr. Lillian Thompson's research group studied mice that were injected with human breast cancer cells and then fed a 10% flaxseed diet. The flax seeds reduced tumor growth rate and reduced metastasis, the spread of cancer to other parts of the body, by 45%. That is a 45% reduction in cancer spread from a food, not a drug, a food. Mechanism 2. Alpha-linolenic acid. Flax seeds are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, a type of omega-3 fatty acid. Omega-3 fatty acids reduce the chronic systemic inflammation that creates a hospitable environment for cancer cells. In specific research on colon cancer, breast cancer, and lung cancer, diets higher in omega-3 from plant sources were associated with meaningfully reduced cancer risk. For people over 60, the anti-inflammatory effect of alpha-linolenic acid is especially relevant because aging bodies produce higher baseline levels of inflammatory markers, molecules like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, that accelerate cancer cell proliferation. Omega-3 from flax seeds helps suppress those signals. Mechanism 3. Fiber. Flax seeds are exceptionally high in soluble and insoluble fiber, including a specific type called mucilaginous fiber that forms a gel in the digestive tract. This fiber does 3 things that matter for cancer prevention. It reduces the transit time of waste through the colon, limiting how long potential carcinogens are in contact with colon tissue, directly relevant to colorectal cancer risk. It feeds beneficial bacteria in the gut microbiome, and a healthy microbiome is increasingly recognized as critical to immune function, including cancer immune surveillance. And it reduces the reabsorption of estrogen from the gut, supporting the lignin mechanism described above. The combination of all three mechanisms makes flax seeds uniquely powerful, particularly for people over 60 whose hormone balance, inflammation levels, and gut microbiome are all at inflection points. How to use this every morning, and this part is critical. Whole flax seeds pass through the digestive system largely intact. The lignans and omega-3 fatty acids are locked inside the hard outer shell and cannot be absorbed in meaningful amounts unless the seeds are ground. You need freshly ground flax seeds. Purchase whole flax seeds and grind a batch in a small blender or coffee grinder at the start of each week. Store the ground flax seeds in an airtight container in the refrigerator. Exposure to air, light, and heat causes the omega-3 oils in ground flax seeds to oxidize rapidly, which destroys their benefit. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flax seeds every morning is the dose that aligns with the research. Stir them into oatmeal, yogurt, or a morning smoothie. They have a mild, slightly nutty flavor that disappears into almost any morning food. Do not cook ground flax seeds in high heat. Add them after cooking. Heat destroys the omega-3 fatty acids and reduces their protective effect. Here is what I want you to understand about everything we have covered today. The 7 foods on this list are not interchangeable with each other. Each one acts through a different mechanism. Blueberries inhibit angiogenesis and reduce oxidative stress. Garlic activates detoxification enzymes and triggers apoptosis. Broccoli switches on your body's internal cancer-fighting gene pathways through sulforaphane. Green tea silences cancer-promoting genes through epigenetic mechanisms. Tomatoes deliver lycopene to neutralize free radical DNA damage. Turmeric blocks the NF-kappa B inflammation switch that cancer cells depend on. Flax seeds attack through 3 pathways simultaneously: hormone modulation, inflammation suppression, and gut health. You do not need all 7 every single morning, but you need consistency with the ones you choose. The research that shows protective effects is almost always based on regular, daily consumption over months and years. A single heroic serving of broccoli does nothing meaningful on its own. 1 cup of blueberries eaten every morning for 6 months starts to shift your cellular environment in measurable ways. The most important word in cancer prevention through diet is not what, it is consistently. Here's a simple morning protocol that combines the most impactful of these 7 foods in the minimum time possible. Wake up. Steep 1 cup of green tea with a squeeze of lemon. While it brews, heat a small pan with 1 teaspoon of olive oil. Add 2 crushed garlic cloves. Set them aside for 10 minutes first while the tea brews. Add a handful of cherry tomatoes. Scramble 2 eggs with a half teaspoon of turmeric and a pinch of black pepper. Serve alongside a small bowl of plain yogurt with 1 cup of blueberries and 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flax seeds stirred in. On the side, 3 to 4 lightly steamed broccoli florets from a batch you steamed the night before. That morning. Takes 12 minutes. It covers 6 of the 7 foods on this list, and it delivers a concentration of natural anti-cancer compounds: sulforaphane, allicin, lycopene, curcumin, anthocyanins, EGCG, lignans, alpha-linolenic acid, that no supplement, no pill, no single food could replicate alone. This is not alternative medicine. This is not replacing your oncologist or your doctor. This is using what the research has clearly and consistently shown about the relationship between what you eat and what happens inside your cells. The modification of diet by increasing vegetable and fruit intake, according to published research in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, could prevent 20% or more of all cancer cases and potentially prevent approximately 200,000 cancer-related deaths annually in the United States alone. You are over 60. Your immune system is fighting harder to do the job it did effortlessly at 35. Your inflammation baseline is higher. Your cellular repair mechanisms are slower. That means the protective foods you eat now matter more than they ever did at any other point in your life. Not less, more. Every morning is a decision. A bowl of something that feeds cancer's environment, or a bowl of something that starves it. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, which one of these 7 foods are you going to add to your morning routine starting tomorrow? Just name the food. That single comment will tell me what you need more of, and it will help the person watching after you see that someone like them is already making this change. If this information reached you today, share it with someone over 60 who deserves to know it. A spouse, a sibling, a friend who had a diagnosis, a parent who is watching what they eat but does not know what to prioritize. The research is real. The foods are accessible. The morning routine is simple. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what comes next, because what we cover in the next video connects directly to something we only touched on today: the specific thing happening inside aging cells at night that either slows cancer growth or accelerates it. And what you eat in the evening is as important as what you eat in the morning. I am Dr. Daniel Hayes, and I will see you there.